Welcome to the Family Brand Show. We're Chris and Melissa Smith of FamilyBrand.com, husband and wife, parents of 5, and we want to help you take back your family and to live life on your terms.
And we know being a family can feel really overwhelming. Parents tell us they feel like they're being pulled in a million different directions. It's so challenging to navigate the uncertainty and all the chaos that's happening in the world right now.
And that's why we want to bring you every single week actionable tips and strategies that you can implement in your daily life to become a better parent, to become a better spouse, and to build a stronger family. And look, there's never been a better time and a more important time than right now to take back your family. You can define what your family stands for, or the world is going to do it for you. And the world needs strong families now more than ever. And it starts right here with your family.
It's that time of year. Kids are going back to school. Actually, as of the day we're recording this, today is the first day of school for some of our kids. And I like to talk every year about what are we doing for school, because this maybe you've already made your decisions, maybe you haven't, about what you're doing for school this year. Are you homeschooling? Are you sending your kids to school? Are you doing a combination? There's charter schools. There's so many options in education these days. So I thought today we were going to talk about what our kids are doing this year, how they decided and we decided together what they were going to do for school, because we don't ever all do the same thing. Like we're not a strictly homeschool family. We're not a strictly charter school or public school family. So it kind of looks different every year and different for every kid. And then we're going to talk a little bit about what our like back to school preparation looks like for our kids. And I'm not talking about, back to school shopping or supplies or anything. I'm talking about like, what are we talking about with our kids to get them ready for the new school year? The conversations we're having and how we're bringing intention to the school year.
And just for some perspective, maybe on that, we have had kids who have been in traditional, public school for years. We've had kids who've gone to charter schools. We've had children who have homeschooled for short periods of time, long periods of time. Our 2 oldest sons have gone to the local community college while high schoolers, but have taken college classes. A little bit of everything in between. And even with homeschool, I think there's been periods where Melissa has had like homeschool that was very structured, homeschool that was a little bit more like unschooling, where our kids kind of were self-directed and kind of just learned about what called to them, and we haven't seemed to ruin them yet. So, and so I just think there are way more options, and I think maybe more and more families are starting to just kind of realize maybe school doesn't have to look like it traditionally has. And I also think it's kind of interesting because I think Melissa and I have but I think we definitely have different opinions and philosophies on school and the importance of education and the type of education. We even had this conversation last night. I would say I lean much more in the direction of school isn't that important to me. And I think there's usefulness to it for some people. But like, if you asked me my opinion and was going to make a blanket statement, I'd be like, yeah, no one needs to go to school. Like school gets in the way of your education. I don't mean any offense by that. Like, but I'm not one that's like encouraging my kids by any means to like, oh, go to college, get a degree. And I'm open to that if that's what calls them. And I think Melissa probably leans more in that direction of, like traditional school of some kind or traditional education and getting a degree is important. And I think you and I have done pretty well to like find a middle ground on that and not have it be a big source of conflict. But it is a big conversation. Like, what does education even mean? What does school, what does all that mean in the world today when there's so many options and so many resources?
Okay, so let's start this episode by kind of telling what are we doing for school this year. So we have 5 kids. Our oldest is a senior in high school. We have a junior. We have an 8th grader, a 5th grader, and a 3rd grader. And so this year, our 3rd grader, she homeschool is really working well for her. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, what exactly that's looking like, because that's something I experimented with last year, doing something completely different for homeschooling. We're going to do it again this year. I'll talk about that here in a minute. Our 5th grader homeschooled last year. He decided he wanted to go back to public school. So he had his first day. We just picked him up from school. He had a great day.
With that said, you might be like, well, how does that work? We decided years ago that we were going to let our children have a say in their education and the type of schooling they wanted to do from a young age. That's just a choice that we've made. And so that's why when we say our fifth grader chose to go back to school, is because we just, yeah, we give them some say in that.
Yeah. And I think ultimately Chris and I would have the ultimate veto power in any of it, but he was really excited about the thought of going back to fifth grade. I feel like that would support him and where he's at in his life. And so we decided to do it for him. Our daughter in eighth grade, which is junior high, she is going to junior high this year, and she went to seventh grade, the public school last year too. And she's thriving in junior high, believe it or not. Because anyone I've heard talk to says, oh, junior high is like, it can be hard. Any of you listening who, went to junior high, it can be a hard time. But I feel like she's doing really well and it's really thriving there.
She did homeschool though in sixth grade.
Sixth grade gym.
And I would say though that part of what goes into this consideration for every child is going to be unique, because I think part of what has made her junior high experience so amazing, and this would probably make any grade amazing, is she has an incredible core group of friends. And they just have like these really strong friendships and they really genuinely enjoy spending time together. And so that's really worked for her.
Yeah. And then our son, Tanner, he is a junior. He actually homeschooled last year. Our community built a brand new high school, just opened today. And I think that was a little too enticing for him. He was like, I want to go to the new high school. And he is very social. I think he really missed that last year. A lot of the activities that he could participate, but not maybe to the extent that he would have been able to if he hadn't been a student there at the high school last year. And so
When we say homeschooled last year, he took in-person classes at the community college, at the junior college, which was actually it was fun for him. And I loved that he got to have that experience as a sophomore at only 16. And it was kind of fun going to the local community college, like volleyball games or basketball games. And Tanner would see like athletes who play for the junior college, like, oh, that guy's in my math class, or she's in my English class, or it was just kind of a different experience for him.
Yeah, he felt cool being like, I'm a student here. He had a student ID at the college, so he could get himself into like, there's this student, I don't even know what they call it, but basically you can go and hang out and play games and gaming, and he could get himself in there and he could sneak his high school friends in there.
Got into all the college games free with his college ID.
Yeah. And so that was kind of funny. And Tate, our oldest, he is also, technically he's homeschooling this year, but we'll have to talk more about that because that's an evolution right now too, because he is selling pest control this summer. The summer before his junior and senior year, he moved, we're in Arizona, he moved to El Paso, Texas to sell pest control. He's coming back to Arizona here this weekend, and we thought he was going to go to the college and kind of homeschool, but same idea, to take his classes at the college. But he just has some new opportunities ahead of him that he might do something crazy.
And when some of you might be wondering, well, how do your kids take junior college classes, and does that still put them on a path to like graduate? And these are all conversations that we've been in. And for some of our kids, it's like, yeah, I want to make sure that I'm taking college classes that allow me to have the credits I need for high school so that I can graduate. I think other kids, are like, I don't really care about graduating at the high school and getting a diploma. I might get my GED. And so it's been different for every one of our children. And we're also not recommending that the way we've done it and the way we're doing it is like the way to do it. It's just, it's what has led, it's what's called to our family. And I do think for me, schooling when I was growing up, it always felt like, well, no, this is what you do. This is what you have to do. You have no say in it, whether you love it, hate it. Like, this is just what you do. You go to school all day, every day, and you graduate high school. And I think there's so much more that's possible. Maybe that doesn't work for every family or every child.
And I know several families that are homeschooling this year for the first time. And I remember like all the feelings and emotions of that, and feeling like, well, what if we, what if this decision to homeschool, or maybe it's something else? What if this decision to do anything different with education? What if that like sets them back? Or what if that, just doesn't work out? And I found, as you've heard, I didn't even get into all of it, like Tate, all the different types of things he's done for his education over the course of the last 12 years. I would say he's doing amazing. Like, he's thrived at every level. He homeschooled for a while, and then in 6th grade, we decided, that he would go back to school, and I was so worried after homeschooling for 2 years, he's gonna be behind. He's, like, not gonna be able to make friends. He won't know anyone, and it just wasn't true. Like, he was just exactly where he needed to be. He made friends, like, very easily. So if you're starting to homeschool and you're worried, like, "What if I'm ruining my kids?" Like, it's just not true. And if they do get back into school and it's like, "Oh, there's a little bit of a gap here in their math skills or something," you hire a tutor or find a tutor or find a neighbor who is really good at math that can help, like, get them back up to speed. Like, you're never ruining your kids, in my opinion.
We're probably really great examples of it's actually really tough to mess up your child's education. It's like they're resilient. Kids can't like you can't stop them from learning. And I think yeah, Melissa was worried every time she homeschooled, and then one of our kids went back, they're going to be behind and academically or in their testing, and it's never been the case.
Okay, so circling back just a bit, because I said that I would with indie school. One thing that we are doing this year with her, we actually tried last year for the first time, is I decided that I wanted to bring someone in to help with homeschooling a little bit. I felt like, well, I won't get into all of it, but I just felt like she and I in particular were maybe butting heads a little bit. And I felt like, could this look differently? How could we create this homeschool environment to be like more supportive to her? I was, had some things that I also want to do and was feeling like I wasn't, she was home all day, every day, and felt like I didn't have time to pursue a couple of things that I wanted to. And so I reached out to a neighbor, and and it wasn't just any neighbor. It was a neighbor who had actually lived next door to us for like a year and a half. She had recently retired from teaching. She had taught sophomore English at the local high school. She had just had a baby and had kind of retired, at least for now, from teaching. And I reached out to her and said, "Hey, I have this idea, and would you be interested in talking more about this, about helping me out with homeschool for a few hours a week this year?" And I'm so grateful for her. Like, she was totally down and she was like, "Yeah, let's do it." And so she was able to stay home with her baby, and I would take the kids to her house for a few hours every week, and she would help me with their homeschool. And then she ended up moving at the semester. And then her niece, actually kind of similar situation, was a teacher, had just had a baby, and took on, the role of helping me out with the kids last year with Chip and Indy for school last semester. And we're gonna do that again with her. Her name's Rainey. Love Rainey. Indy loves Rainey. She is like been such a can I say she's been a godsend for her
Yeah.
family because as I said, Indy just loves her. And she's such a good role model and just like a really great kind teacher. And then Indy gets to hang out with her baby every day too, which is a plus. And then like today, Indy and I we made pasta and we like have time to do extra fun stuff when she gets home from her time with Rainy.
Yeah. And so part of what we wanted to talk about as well is I feel like we had some really cool conversations this year, like this past week leading up to school, that I hope is those conversations will serve our children throughout the school year. And one of the things that we talked about is, when you're first doing something new, like most every child that I know, myself included, even if you don't really particularly love school, there is a little bit of excitement at the beginning of the year. It's like back to school, see your friends, maybe you got some new clothes, new shoes, like new backpack, whatever it is. And I also feel like for a lot of kids, that excitement can wear off really quickly. And that's kind of life though, right? Like it's exciting sometimes to get a new gym membership or get new gym clothes or start new things. And then I don't know, a few weeks in, 90 days in, it can start to feel like a bit of a grind. And so we just talked about the reality of that with our kids and just shared that, man, how you manage your thoughts, but really specifically how you manage your language could completely be the deciding factor, the determining factor of the kind of school year you have. Because it's going to be so easy for you just to all of a sudden start saying like, "Oh, I hate school. School's so long. School's so boring." And I think sometimes we think, well, no, that's the reality. but the reality is actually lives in your language. Like language creates, and this is something I talk about all the time in the Possibility Company with our clients. And one of the thoughts and one of the conversations we've been having with our kids lately is it's okay to have some limiting thoughts. It's okay to have a thought like, and school is super boring. The danger though is when you speak it. When your thoughts don't have a whole lot of power until you speak them. And I think that really served our kids, and they've talked about that already. And so just arming them to say there are going to be days where you don't feel like going to school. There are going to be mornings where you wake up and it's like, I hate school. I don't want to go to school. School is stupid. Like these are all things we've heard, like in our own home. Or coming home from school and school's so stupid and this person wasn't nice to me. You're going to feel those things. And we also do give our children space to come and talk to us about like, hey, I'm struggling with this. Or and though I've really cautioned my kids and really tried to warn them like, hey, don't find yourself speaking negatively about school a lot, or that will create your reality. And it's a bigger principle than just school. It's like it's your life, right? And so I think that was really useful. And then Melissa also shared something that I thought was super useful with them, which is, hey, whatever educational like path you've chosen, you chose it. And sometimes that can be a really great reminder to remember, like, oh yeah, I chose this. It's not being done to me. And one of the things we talk about, Melissa and I, we try to teach our kids is if you choose it, you give up your right to complain about it. Because it's kind of silly. Like, why complain about things we've chosen to do? And I've done that plenty of times. And Melissa even told the story, I think last night, about when you first chose to homeschool the kids. Yeah, maybe just talk about that and how useful it was to remind yourself on the days where it was insane and and when you're like, homeschool, stupid. I hate homeschool. Like,
Yeah. Well, when I so we sat the kids down. This is like their preschool, night before school little lesson, if you will. And I did share that, particularly when we first started homeschooling, Trip and Indy were really little. Like I had two little babies, and our fourth and fifth are like 19 months apart. And I remember there were some days that were like very, very challenging. But it really helped me remembering, just like Chris said, like, okay, this is something that I wanted. Like when I looked at my life, it was like, I want to do this with my family and I want to have, you know, this lifestyle. And so this is what it looks like today. And it's not perfect by any means, but it's like this is what I want. And that really did help.
yes, I think we also asked each of our kids. One of the things that Melissa does do that's a really cool tradition is the night before school starts, she does, we do like a back to school dinner, ask the kids what they want to have for food, make a little bit nicer dinner, make it like a big deal, have ice cream. And so last night was our back to school dinner. Again, we talked about the power of language. There are going to be days where it gets hard. There's going to be days where you don't want to do it. There's going to be days where you regret whatever path you've chosen. Your language really matters. Reminding yourself that you chose it matters. And then also, like, what's your intention? Like, what is your intention for the school year? That was a really useful conversation. And then I gave each of our children a back to school blessing. It's in the church that we belong to, it's a form of like prayer that's meaningful to us. And I think that whether you're spiritual or religious, or you have a faith in God, I even think it could be cool to like go around as a family and literally like say a prayer for each one of your children individually.
Yeah, like praying over each one of them.
Yeah, pray over your children individually, but do it as a family, or like, bless each other out loud with intentions. And so I think, yeah, there's just, yeah, we just want to be in this conversation instead of just like, oh, okay, go to school and I hope you have a great experience. And if you don't, you don't. Like, I think we could just do, and that's what we're trying to do, is just prepare them a little bit and arm them with some tools.
Yeah, and I'd say the last thing that I feel like is important to talk about is there's actually a lot of new students at our
Mm.
kids' schools this year. And as we mentioned before, the different journeys that our kids have taken through education, they've been the new kids, more than once. And know what it feels like to be the new kid and not know who am I going to eat lunch with, or, is anyone going to talk to me at recess? And I think that's another important thing, as we're raising kids, having them be the kid that's looking out for those kids and reminding them of that too.
Yeah, that was awesome. I could tell that you hope your children would naturally do that. And I think one of the things that you said to our kids last night that was really awesome is, and look, you might not even intentionally ignore or neglect the new kid. You might just be so excited to see your friends that you just don't even notice. And so that's one of the things we are trying to encourage our children to do, is to go out of your way to look and like look for the kid who's sitting by themselves at lunch. Look for the kid who people aren't being kind to. And last thing I'll say, to put in a plug for the family brand digital program, the Family Academy, where you can go through and create your family's mission, vision, values. I really love that most mornings we come together as a family, we eat breakfast together, and we recite our family's mission, vision, values. I just feel like, I don't know, I feel like I'm putting a little bit of like spiritual, mental, and emotional armor on my children without having to even say like, hey, remember who you are and like make good choices. It's like, by them reciting our family's mission, vision, values, they're the ones reminding themselves of who they are and what's important to them and how we show up as a family and how we treat other people. And that could be a whole nother podcast. But I would encourage you, if you can create some type of routine in the morning, whether it's eating breakfast together or it's on the drive to school, that I think we could do maybe more at times to arm our children with a good mindset and a frame of mind and a frame of reference. And one of the things that Melissa's way better at than me is, if there is ever tension in our home in the morning around people running late, it's usually driven by me. And so I've got to really be careful, because I can, hey, hurry up, get your shoes on, hurry up, get to the breakfast table. And there's a sensitivity to that, because if I push on that too much, I can have my kids like completely miserable, which doesn't set them up for success. And they leave the house stressed out, probably anxious, not a great way to start their day. And so I've tried to be much more intentional about, trying to operate from a place of love and kindness and more gently remind. And the last thing I'll say with that, these are more just tactical tips, is we have had school years where we just kind of like, it was just some loose assumptions and expectations of like, oh, we think everyone's getting up at this time. And the kids are like, oh, I kind of think my parents will have breakfast by this time. The car is going to leave about this time. That, for us at least, has proven to be a recipe for disaster. When there's all these loose, fuzzy expectations, there has to be a lot of stress, because it's like, get out of bed, or hurry up, the car's leaving, or they're even after us. Like, you guys got to get breakfast ready faster so I can get to school on time. One of the things that has helped, and we get out of practice with it at times, but when we create really clear agreements as a family of, okay, here's what time everyone's getting up. Here's what time mom and dad are getting up. Here's what time we're going to have breakfast on the table. Here's what time the car's leaving the house. And there's no fuzziness. There's no like expectations. It's like very clear. That just in and of itself, that level of clarity promotes a lot of peace and a lot of just everyone's on the same page. And our mornings function so much better, which means our days start so much better.
Yeah, I'm glad you added that. One loop to circle back on that I mentioned earlier is about Tate, our oldest, and his school. It's so interesting watching him get older, and he turned 18 a couple weeks ago, and he told us the other day that he wants to possibly go sell pest control like in a different country for a couple months. And so it's been fun to explore that conversation with him and be like, yeah, what would that look like for you? And would you still take classes? And I don't know. It's been an interesting and fun conversation to have with him and see what the future holds for him.
Yeah, I would say, if anything, the thing I've learned about schooling and education is that it's tempting, I think, to just parent all of my children the same, because that would be easy for me. And I think the challenge is like, it takes more effort to try to see each of them individually and be like, well, they're all very unique and very different. So parenting them and showing up to their education is unique to each of them.
Yeah, and I'm sure any parent listening can relate to that. But what works for one doesn't necessarily work for the other, and that is the journey of parenthood, is figuring that out. So I hope that this episode supported you in your decisions this year and your back to school adventures, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for hanging out with us today on the Family Brand Podcast. But wait, before you go, I want to give you something. It's something I stole out of our Family Brand Academy because I thought it would make a big difference for you, and I want you to have it for free, no strings attached. It's how we run our family meetings, and not just our family meetings that we have every week, but also our family check-ins, which is this system we've developed for how to connect with our kids and each other, Chris and I, every single week. And we've had some great outcomes with this. Not only have we, but a lot of families that have implemented this have as well. Actually, life-changing outcomes, if I'm being honest. You'll definitely want to get this. Go get your copy at familybrand.com/meeting, and we will catch you next time.